The dog with the shifty eyes. A wizard did it. Sneeds, feed, and seed. Stupid, sexy Flanders. There's a lot of buzz around Lenny. Jockey elves. Indestructible. Florida, that's America's Wang. Save me, Jeebus. Tappa, tappa, tappa. I have seen inside the Season 11 monolith. The thing's hollow, it goes on forever, and oh my god, it's full of memes. I suppose it's appropriate that this is the birthplace of so many internet jokes and references, because Season 11 has a very memey quality about it. Watching Season 11 is a little like browsing the internet. It's ironic, breezy, meta, continuity-rich, and subversive. It's not interested in balance, it ain't gonna do rehashes of character journeys or relationship stories. No, we're gonna throw the characters into a wacky situation, make a pithy and self-aware observation about the show, add a WTF moment, and boom, you got an iconic episode. Just wait a decade or so, and some internet jackass will prattle on and on about Schrodinger's alligator. This is a season that is well known for its plot swerves, most of which occur during Act 2. A story about spring break turns into a run from the law. A story about Bart and a horse transforms into a battle against jockey elves. Marge breaking her leg culminates in Homer and Bart going to a leper colony. The family house sitting for Burns results in a trip to international waters. Even a relatively more straightforward story, like It's a Mad, 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 Mad Marge, ends with a double twist. Each of these episodes have a more quote-unquote traditional Act 3 they could have pursued. Maybe Lisa teaches Homer and Bart a lesson, and they begrudgingly clean up their act. But Season 11 was bored by this kind of traditional character arc. We already had Homer alone, we don't need to do that again. Let's instead take the prank too far, have it backfire on Lisa in an extremely unexpected way. Sure, it has absolutely nothing to do with resolving the central conflict, but it's definitely the funnier and more offbeat way to end things. Who actually cares if Homer and Bart are slobs? Unfortunately, due to this relentlessly contrarian approach, they fell into a different sort of pattern. Season 11 has a bad habit of ending most of its stories with some kind of dangerous showdown, with someone suddenly trying to kill the Simpsons. The chefs want Homer dead, the farm animals attack, Homer's drowning, a showdown with the biker gang, now Fat Tony is gonna kill Homer, pirates attack their ship, now the jockeys get their shot at Homer, or maybe lava or a forest fire will kill them. Also, Bart and Milhouse have a story about being trapped by a mountain lion or something. These death-defying storylines do a great job of raising the stakes, keeping the audience on edge, but my god, there's just way too many of them. I feel like I'm watching a season of the Venture Brothers rather than The Simpsons. I can get behind the idea of a subversive and perilous ending, but there's not enough variety here. Everything's the "in Marge we trust" ending. When it comes to Act 3, Season 11 is a bit of a one-trick pony. Like, come on guys, you can't just keep lighting everything on fire and calling it a plot point. We already did that in Season 9. That being said, Season 11 has a pretty refreshing approach to B-plots. It's not all standalone stuff of the past, like the swear jar or the school uniforms. Really, it's only the Bart and Milhouse Mall subplot that falls in that category. Season 11 instead emphasized mixing them into the fabric of the overall story. In some episodes, Homer will split off in a different direction from the family and will follow both groups. In others, they use the opening set piece to establish the B-plot first and then pivot somewhere else. They even managed to converge some of these B-plots into the climax of the main storyline. Sometimes the B-plot is so brief, so pointless, that I question whether every scene in every episode is secretly a B-plot. Seriously, what is this? In terms of overall vibe, Season 11 feels like a more extreme version of 5. Season 5 loved these gag-driven affairs, stories like Homer the Vigilante that veer off in an unexpected direction. But, as silly as things got, it still made an effort to have an emotional core, a relationship-driven goal that motivates the characters. Season 11 isn't interested in this relationship and character drama. If the characters ever get schmaltzy or start moralizing, you can be sure they're about to subvert our expectations. This is a season that is 95% irony, 4% earnestness, and 1% Flanders Dawn. Despite that 1%, I wouldn't say Season 11 is significantly edgier than the previous year. It's kind of plateaued at this point. They'll still do jokes about orgies or have gross-out visuals and over-the-top pain gags. End the season with LOL, Huckleberry Hound is gay, that kind of stuff. Still very middle school, but it's helped along by how Season 11 never tries to take itself seriously. The heightened silliness takes off some of that edge. As a whole, the jokes have the usual blend of screw the audience stuff and observational humor. All that hasn't changed. But things are getting wackier and more absurd. There's more of a Swartzweldery vibe to these situations. The school access ramps will be built out of breadsticks, Homer will engage in a motorcycle sword fight, he'll bungee jump to the center of the earth. It's a bit more surreal than Season 10, more akin to the days of Season 4. Except instead of constantly doing these elaborate dream sequences, these absurd situations will pop up in the reality of the show. In fact, it's exceptionally rare that Season 11 goes for cutaways or fantasies. If they want PBS characters to attack Homer, they're going to bring them to Springfield, not have Homer merely dream about it. Dream sequences are for normies. In addition, they ramped up their usage of meta humor in Season 11. This is one of the main reasons why it feels so self-conscious. In almost every episode, there's some quip that openly questions what the characters are doing. Why didn't they open the prize envelope immediately? Why did they wait 1 month after seeing the diner commercial? How come Moe's face changed back to his original one? Or most notably, comic book guy putting the whole story on notice. Honestly, I think their meta humor works pretty well here. Some of these are among my favorite jokes in the season. Like, I totally love them owning up to Bart and Lisa's story being a little thin. You can tell the writers were having fun with the sitcom conventions, looking at plot holes through the perspective of the bewildered audience. While the constant meta commentary does sort of take me out of the stories, I enjoy the self-awareness. They know this is silly, let's just have a good laugh about it. Frankly, between all the meta humor and the continuity nods, you'd think Season 11 would be a superfan's wet dream. This thing is absolutely filled to the brim with Simpsons continuity. I think there's a case for it being the most continuity-rich season ever. Like, we have the more obvious stuff, like doing a Homer Goes to College follow-up, or bringing back Grandpa's Farm, but they'll bring in smaller elements too, like Donnie's discount gas, the Shino Ballo, the old monorail, Ooter's disappearance. Even Itchy and Scratchy is on top of its continuity. Sometimes they'll name-check specific plot points when they're relevant, like Homer being sterile, or Marge's love of Ringo Starr. In addition, Season 11 established 3 major status quo changes for the show. Not only were they celebrating their history, they were shaking things up and opening up some new possibilities for the future. That being said, Season 11 does feel more dated than in previous years. Yeah, we had stuff like Clinton vs. Dole and the Homerpalooza lineup that very distinctly live in a certain time period, but rewatching Season 11 constantly reminds you what a different world Y2K was compared to today. It's a world where Mel Gibson's problem is that he's just too loved. Robert Downey Jr. is having police shootouts. They put Oscar winner Spike Lee on the rocket to the sun. Here's fresh-faced pop superstar Britney Spears handing out an award with Kent Brockman. Maybe this dynamic was the exact same way in 1992, and the show was always a peek into pop culture bizarro world. It's possible I don't remember these boomer celebrities well enough to think about it. But it might be the result of a stronger Hollywood vibe in Season 11, that the entertainment industry is all over it. They say you're supposed to write what you know, and you can definitely tell the writers have been living in LA for quite some time. Some of it is just due to its bookends, how it opens with Mel Gibson and closes with a behind the music send-up. But sprinkled throughout, characters will experience these brushes with fame, be put in a situation where they gotta put on a big show. Or maybe they'll throw in Hollywood set pieces, or have Homer start viewing things through the perspective of a producer. It almost feels like Homer knows he's on The Truman Show, and he's just trying to make good TV. Season 11 loves award shows and contests. These will often be the big framing device, springboard a new B-plot, or be the turning point in the story. It loves pitting the Simpson family against big business or Hollywood industry types, see if they can come out on top. The Simpson family have run-ins with Hollywood studio executives, a pharmaceutical company, a restaurant council, Laramie Cigarettes, the Springfield Zoo, the toy industry, PBS, and soap opera producers. The economy of the late 1990s was booming, and the show reflected this in its targets for satire. This wasn't the usual Simpson cynicism about big business in general. There was a greater focus on how businesses can encroach on our everyday lives. Season 11 can be pretty dated with its references, but in regards to this commentary, they were ahead of the curve. Not surprisingly, this was a year absolutely packed with guest stars playing themselves. As a whole, it's a pretty eclectic lineup. You get buzzy celebrities like Britney Spears, Kid Rock, Lucy Lawless, and Mark McGuire, but they love bringing in the classic Hollywood types too, like Dick Clark, Ron Howard, Betty White, Robert Evans, and Willie Nelson. Then you get the offbeat picks, like Gary Coleman, Butch Patrick, and NRBQ. On the other hand, there were still some solid examples of celebrities playing new characters. Season 11 is a bit underrated in this regard. Love hearing Ed Asner and Gary Marshall early on. John Goodman and Henry Winkler are a solid duo. Don Cheadle brings some great energy to this faith healing role. Also, special shout out to Parker Posey, who does a lot of heavy lifting in her episode. As for our secondary characters, there weren't too many shakeups between seasons 10 and 11. We're still very much in the Mo Sizlak era, with him scoring another Spotlight episode. Season 11 played up his creepiness even further, started putting in more suicide jokes. Chief Wiggum continued being a major supporting character in various plotlines. This time it's not about these constant police standoffs and crime and punishment. Season 11 instead emphasized how the law is powerless to help them. Other characters, like Ned Flanders, Apu, and Barney, got their own Spotlight episodes and corresponding continuity changes, but were otherwise used sparingly. Mr. Burns continued being sidelined, due to a lack of nuclear power plant storylines. We've reached the point where Bart's openly questioning if Homer even goes to work anymore. The same can be said for Skinner and most of the Springfield Elementary kids. Skinner tended to show up at the beginning of episodes and then disappear, whereas Milhouse would latch on to whatever Bart or Lisa's story happens to be going on. Typical Milhouse. The biggest winner of season 11, by far, is Lenny. You all probably saw this one coming. Season 11 is basically a meme, and that attitude is most exemplified by how the writers fell in love with Lenny. You know, the whole "not Lenny" thing and the buzz around him. Lenny is somehow the most important man in Springfield. We should probably throw Carl into this conversation, who accomplishes most of the same things as Lenny, but from a slightly less ironic perspective. Season 11 liked putting Homer together with Lenny, Carl, and Moe to discuss the challenges of the plot, or letting them spin off the story in a new direction. Or they'll bring these two in for some interracial homoeroticism. I get the sense that the writers were kind of bored with the other characters' shtick, that watching Krusty bomb on stage is passé. So they were inexorably drawn to Lenny and Carl's random everyman quality. In the season 10 retrospective, I discussed the rise of jerk-ass Homer, that degree of callousness that would occasionally go unchecked. The good news for season 11 is that there's no kidney trouble here. There's no story that revolves around Homer's awfulness. Homer's callousness tended to recur in smaller, more focused moments of aggression. Instead, they ramped up Homer's general obliviousness and enthusiasm. If Homer's gonna do something, he's gonna go hard. He's gonna take every situation to its logical extreme, whether people around him are on board or not. In some episodes, it makes him an extremely supportive ally, whereas in others, it makes him the most obnoxious person who has ever lived. Homer's hyper-enthusiasm is definitely a double-edged sword during this era. Marge continued her extended vacation in hell during season 11, somehow discovering new depths that season 10 hadn't reached. I mean, come on, last year she got an SUV, whereas this time she gets a tranquilizer dart in the neck. You know things are going badly for you when being kidnapped by a biker gang is your less torturous storyline. It's clear that Marge only exists to nag the plot, get dumped on by others, and if she's lucky, provide some advice. There's not even as many cute or naive mom jokes here to fall back on. Season 11 in general just isn't Marge's scene. It's all about irony and meta jokes. Her earnestness and groundedness doesn't get much play, not even as a foil. The biggest change in the family dynamic in season 11 is how Bart and Lisa are handled. Since season 10 was so Homer-centric, Bart lost a lot of his independence, stepping into the role of Homer's assistant. Whereas this year, the writers preferred teaming up Bart and Lisa for storylines. We'd get episodes like Bart to the Future, Grift of the Magi, and the B-plot of Days of Wine and Dozes. This time, Lisa actually fell into the role of Homer's assistant more often than her brother. Homer's schemes would often require her intelligence or creativity to get things done. The writers went out of their way to highlight Lisa's love of nature or have her debate the important issues in other characters' storylines. Lisa's own storylines tended to revolve around her sense of competence and achievement. Basically surround Lisa with a bunch of idiots and see if she can find a way to win. Bart had a pretty nice little bounce back year, especially after such a forgettable season 10. He's probably the most balanced Simpson family member now, as he has separate storylines with Homer, Marge, and Lisa. He gets episodes like Brother's Little Helper, Faith Off, and Saddle Sore Galactica that all hinge on his rebellious attitude. Bart's character actually gets to drive these stories. There are certainly negative aspects of his characterization, like they definitely play up his pathetic slacker aspect of his personality. But mostly, Bart is just looking for a good time. None of his pranks are too mean-spirited, he doesn't take things too far like his father. This is Bart sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying the turn of the millennium. I approve. I think that's a good description for the philosophy behind Season 11, that this isn't a year about worrying about the details or tying itself down by past Simpsons conventions. This was about breaking a lot of those rules and laughing with the audience about it. Maybe we don't actually need to end this random Homer adventure properly. Maybe it's funnier to bookend the thing with more PBS meta humor. I mean, where was the story really gonna go? In the last retrospective, I alluded to Season 11 being the Woodstock 99 of Simpsons seasons, in the sense that the writers got kinda punch drunk and decided to burn down some of the pillars of the show. Goodbye Schmaltz, goodbye groundedness, goodbye Maude Flanders. But rewatching the episodes, I don't think it's that great of a comparison. Season 11 doesn't feel like it's rebelling against anything in particular. If anything, it wants to celebrate Simpsons history as much as it can, not burn it down. No, Season 11 is an extremely wispy and trickstery sort of year. It just kinda goes wherever, doesn't make commitments with its plots or characters, it'll change its mind on a whim if it thinks of a funnier direction for the story. It's afraid of earnestness, would rather live in a playland of irony and meta-humor. Wow, I feel like I'm describing this really flaky stoner right now. Actually, maybe I'm just describing Loki. To be honest, I really struggle with Season 11 as a whole. It's probably my least favorite year of The Simpsons. Not that I don't appreciate its brand of wackiness and meta-humor. Like, I really enjoy stuff like Arrested Development or Community. Those are both extremely self-conscious shows. For me, there just isn't much substance to Season 11. There isn't much balance to it. The wonderful jokes and memorable set pieces are never anchored to anything solid. I never feel invested in what's happening on screen. I think that's why so many episodes end in these moments of peril. The character journeys are so irrelevant, so undercooked, that the actual stakes need to be invented in Act 3. To be clear, I still have fun watching Season 11. It wasn't like this was a slog to sit through. I enjoy Season 11 like I would enjoy Homestar Runner from back in the day. It's fun to put on, laugh at the memes, and not worry about whether it makes any sense. I suppose there's enough room in Simpsons history for one of those. Let me know in the comments what you think of The Simpsons Season 11 as well as its overall vibe. Do you like the more absurd direction this season took? Or do you think they went too far? Was the alligator alive the entire time? I'll be back next time for the top 10, which has surprisingly been one of the easier lists to put together. I like that. As always, thanks for watching.